physical copy. Take pictures of them, keep them on their phone, download them on your phone, but don't trust just your phone, because if you get to the check-in counter and you're on low bat and your phone dies, well, you're screwed. So take paper copies, keep at least 2 copies, keep them in separate places. Just be very careful, and you'll avoid the problem that I ran into. It was my fault. Can't blame the Philippines, because I was prepared. I knew what to do. I just made a mistake somewhere in not protecting my documents. All right, so please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to have a lot more videos to come about my life in the Philippines with Maricel Kaagay. We're going to have a wedding video, all kinds of good videos about life in the Philippines with Tito Jeff. And hit the notification bell, so after you do subscribe, YouTube will send you a message and let you know that I've posted a new video, and if you're really interested, you don't want to miss out on them. And I hope you enjoy all of them. Thanks a lot. Goodbye, Tito Jeff here in Cebu City, Philippines. Hello everybody, Tito Jeff here in Cebu City, Philippines. Tito Jeff. Tito means uncle in Filipino, or in Bisaya. So I'm here in Cebu City at the Summit Galleria Hotel, and it's been a week since I left the United States. The purpose of my trip is to meet my fiance, Maricel, in Ormoc City, and I am also going to be retiring here in the Philippines. We're going to get married. I'm going to retire and have a new life here in the Philippines. So we tried to bring Maricel to the United States on what's called a K-1 fiance visa, and we would get married in the United States. She could spend some time in the United States, and then we would return to the Philippines. Well, we had some problems with that, hit a roadblock, so we decided that I would come on to the Philippines. And it's been 2 years since we've seen each other, and so we're really anxious to be back together. During the pandemic, the Philippines would not allow anyone to enter the country. So until February, from about March of 2020 until February 10th of this year, 2022, no foreigners were allowed to enter the Philippines unless you were married to a Filipino or something like that. But you couldn't just come here as a tourist, which is basically how I'm entering the country. So to enter the country still in the Philippines, you have to have COVID vaccination documentation, and you have to have a COVID test before you get on the plane to depart the Philippines, depart the United States. And they check all that on the way. Plus you have to have travel insurance, which covers COVID-19 treatment. I had all of that. And before you get on the plane, you also need to fill out what's called online Philippines One Health Pass. And that where you upload the COVID vaccination report, the documentation of the vaccination, and the results of the COVID test. All right, so you'd think that would be saved in there, but it's not. So I'll get to that in a minute, because that became a big problem on my trip. So a 25-hour flight from Kentucky to Manila, Philippines. I went from Lexington, Kentucky to Detroit. I showed my paperwork in Lexington. I showed my paperwork in Detroit. And ironically, I helped an old guy, an American citizen who just happened to be Filipina by birth. He wanted to come to Manila to visit his family. He couldn't find his travel insurance. And so I spent about 30 minutes with him, helping him get aboard that plane so that he didn't have to stay behind in Detroit. Detroit to Incheon, South Korea. That was about a 15-hour flight. No problems. You flew from Detroit across Canada and Alaska, and ordinarily would fly through Russian airspace, but we didn't do that because of the stupid war. Thanks a lot, Vladimir. I'm a dumbass, Putin. So and we didn't fly through Chinese airspace either. So we landed in Incheon, South Korea. I showed my paperwork. I was so happy, and then got aboard the plane and flew to Manila. Uh-oh, something happened. When I got to Manila, I could not find my COVID COVID antigen test results. I made a mistake. I had 2 physical copies. I kept them together. I should not have kept them together. I should have kept them separately. I did not take a picture of them, and I did not download the results to my phone. If I had just even had a picture of my results, everything would have been different. But the first thing you do in Manila is you show your paperwork to the Bureau of Quarantine. Because I did not have that test result, I had to go into quarantine for 5 days. I spent 2 hours there searching my bags, my carry-on bags. One of the BOQ girls went back to the airplane and asked them if they had found anything on the plane. They did not. So I lost my document somewhere between checking in Incheon, Korea and boarding the plane. And I suspect that it was on the plane. It was in the overhead bin where I stored my jacket, because I put my documents in my coat pocket. I bet you I lost it up there. Doesn't matter. So I had to go to quarantine. And so before I left the airport, thankfully, I got some cash at an ATM machine. I got 10,000 pesos, which is about $200 US. With that, I bought a little Wi-Fi router, a little pocket Wi-Fi, and with some data. That cost me about 70 bucks, 3,500 pesos. So now I'm down to 6,500 pesos, plus I had some Filipino money from my last trip, which was 1,500. So I had about 8,000 pesos in my pocket. Get to the hotel, Go Hotel, and it's the name of the hotel, Go Hotel, in Ermita, Manila, which is a little village name, or barangay name in Manila. Checked in at about 2 a.m. I was exhausted. I was really upset. I was distressed. I had been waiting 2 years to do this, and I messed it up. I was really getting down on myself, and I was tired from the journey. So finally get checked in the room. I couldn't go to sleep. So I was talking to my family on Facebook Messenger, telling them what was going on, and I had to order food. So I knew first thing I tried to do was to get online and find the document from my patient portal at the little clinic at Kroger in Lexington, Kentucky. I had to have a phone to do that. Well, before I left the USA, I canceled my phone service. It expired while I was in flight, midnight Wednesday night. And so I was able to get online through my Wi-Fi pocket Wi-Fi. I could have used the hotel, but I didn't think about it. Got online, got on a chat room with AT&T, and they were able to restore my phone service. All right. So now I can get online and check my patient portal. I find the document. Yay! So it seems like I would just be able to email the document to the Bureau of Quarantine, and they would release me from quarantine. Well, I did that, and it took about a day and a half to get them to talk to me. I finally called one of them, and no, sir, I'm sorry, sir, the final decision is at the airport, sir. Very polite, very nice people, and it was out of her hands. I'm not mad at her, but sometimes you think they can be a little bit flexible, but nope. So I spent 5 days in quarantine. The other problem I had was getting food. There's no hotel room service. It was kind of a cheap hotel. It was okay, 45 bucks a night, something like that. It was safe. It was clean. I had air conditioning, but I had to order food out. So to do that, I was using 2 applications, Grab and Food Panda. Grab rejected my debit card. I could not use my debit card. Food Panda rejected my debit card. I couldn't use my debit card. Finally, I got on PayPal and linked my account to my checking account at Schwab Bank. That worked. All right, so I'm in because I can't use up my cash. I have 8,000 cash and 5 days to go. It's about a little over 1,000 pesos a day for food probably, and I had to use some for the taxi, so I'm down to 7,000. I need 2,500 to pay in cash for my swab test on the 5th day in quarantine. So you quarantine for 5 days, somebody comes to the hotel, collects a swab test, and they analyze the results, and you get out of there. So I was down to now about what, 5,000 or 6,000. I use 7,000 pesos, need 2,500. That leaves me 4,500 pesos for 5 days to buy food, and it's usually fast food. So it's not expensive food, but it's still, I'm going to cut it close. And the first meal I paid for was in cash at Mang Inasal. I ordered chicken inasal. It was delicious. But anyhow, I won't go into that. So sometimes I could get my debit card to work with Food Panda. Sometimes it wouldn't. And then finally with PayPal rejected my debit card initially. They wouldn't even let me upload it. So I linked it to my checking account. That was working fine. I should have left well enough alone, because being me, I said, I've got to be able to get this debit card. It's PayPal. It's an American. It's not like I'm a foreigner to them. So I did get them to accept my debit card, and then all it would want to do was pay with my debit card. I go to Food Panda, order. It would send me to the PayPal site, and up pops my debit card. Rejected again. So I said, well, I've got to get rid of that debit card. So I deleted the debit card from my PayPal account. I said, I'll order again. Guess what? It wants me to choose. It sends me to the PayPal website. The PayPal says, please choose a credit or debit card. I ain't that cool. So can't do that. So I called PayPal, and I finally talked to a lady. It was kind of hard to understand. I think she was in California, maybe an immigrant. I don't know. It doesn't matter. She was, because it was Pacific Coast time that they were operating on. She tells me that the Food Panda software is not communicating correctly with the PayPal software. Okay. So I deleted the data and the cache from my Food Panda, and still I couldn't get the checking account to pop up on my PayPal. So the next day, and I restarted my phone. So the next day I was able to do that and use it. But then again, I still had trouble with it. I don't know what was going on. So using a combination of cash and online payments, I was able to make it through and pay for everything. So 5 days later, I get busted out of quarantine, go to Manila International Airport. I'm ready to get out of town. 1 hour flight delay, because the incoming flight for the plane that we were supposed to use was delayed because of bad weather. So finally, we get on the plane from Manila to Cebu City. In Cebu City, I'm supposed to meet Maricel, my fiance, the most beautiful woman in the world. However, there's another problem. There is a typhoon on her island, and it has shut down the ferry service because the waves have gotten too big. 2 to 3 meter waves. You don't want to ride on a ferry in 2 to 3 meter waves. In Kentucky speak, that's 4 to 9 feet waves. Not going to be a pleasant ride. It could be very dangerous. So even today, 2 days later, there's no ferry service from Ormoc to Cebu or Cebu to Ormoc. So I said, well, I could fly to Tacloban city in her island, and just take a bus from Tacloban to Ormoc City. Well, I could do that. However, there's a limitation on the number of bags you can have because it's a small aircraft. It's a less than regional air flight. It's just a local flight. So I'm only allowed to have one carry-on that weighs 15 pounds, and then 2 bags, and that's paying for an extra bag. One comes with the ticket, and I'd have to buy an extra one. But I'm carrying 3 bags, a carry-on, and also a personal bag, and there's no way they're going to let me on that flight. So I'm stuck here in Cebu City, toughing it out, and waiting to see Maricel. And the typhoon has killed 22 people close to where she lives because of a mudslide. And even last night when I was talking to her, she had to move some stuff out of a house that we have rented, and because it might flood there. So when I get there, I may not have any place to live. All right, so this is going to be fun. But that's my journey. I'm in the Philippines. I'm enjoying it. Even in quarantine, I could open the window. I could hear the roosters crow. I love to hear the roosters. I could hear the street sounds. I could smell the smoke from the cooking fires. I could see people below. So I even got a little pleasure out of that during quarantine. Here in Cebu, I'm able to get out, and at the airport, I walked up and down the terminal because for 5 days I was just stuck in that room. I walked up and down the terminal and looked at people. nice people here. Everybody greets you. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. And it's not just morning. How you doing? It's good morning, sir. Very polite people here, and love being in the Philippines with the Filipino people. The hotel here in Cebu is very nice. I'm at the Summit Galleria. I'm not going to show you my room right now because it's a wreck. I've got bags open everywhere. It's $65 a night for a really nice hotel. And they have a restaurant in the lobby, breakfast buffet for $7. It's really good. It's also connected to the Robinsons mall, shopping mall. So I walked in there yesterday to walk around and get some exercise. There's some other restaurants in there. They have a Denny's and TGI Fridays, which I did not eat at. Denny's wanted like $5.60 for a chocolate milkshake. That's a little crazy. So, and I also went out yesterday and took a long walk outside, about a 1 hour walk. I walked actually to the pier where the Ocean Jet ferry is located, and it's about a 30-minute walk from here. Walked in the rain a little bit, and but I enjoyed every minute of it. It was a nice walk, got a lot of exercise, and got out and see people and talk to people in Bisaya, trying to practice my language a little bit. So I'm here, and the next step will be to get to Ormoc City to see my beautiful fiance, the most beautiful woman in the world, Maricel Kaagay. So I'll end this video. I'm in good spirits, I'm safe, and just waiting to get out of here again. But at least I'm not in quarantine jail. All right, thanks everybody. This is Tito Jeff. I hope you liked the video. Maybe it's be helpful to you. If you're going to travel to the Philippines, don't forget to make copies of your documents. Carry a physical copy. Take pictures of them. Keep them on their phone. Download them on your phone. But don't trust just your phone, because if you get to the check-in counter and you're on low bat and your phone dies, well, you're screwed. So take paper copies. Keep at least 2 copies. Keep them in separate places. Just be very careful, and you'll avoid the problem that I ran into. It was my fault. Can't blame the Philippines, because I was prepared. I knew what to do. I just made a mistake somewhere in not protecting my documents. All right, so please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to have a lot more videos to come about my life in the Philippines with Maricel Kaagay. We're going to have a wedding video, all kinds of good videos about life in the Philippines with Tito Jeff. And hit the notification bell, so after you do subscribe, YouTube will send you a message and let you know that I've posted a new video, and if you're really interested, you don't want to miss out on them. And I hope you enjoy all of them. Thanks a lot. Goodbye. Tito Jeff here in Cebu City, Philippines.